Yes, I did get to Well, good evening, everyone. Nice to see all of these beautiful and handsome and excited faces before us. This is going to be all right. Oh, okay. Well, yes. Thank you, Alice. Appreciate that. I appreciate the wisdom. Well, my name is Ilsa Evans. I am one of the associate pastors here at New Shiloh, serve as director of ministries, and on behalf of our senior pastor, Reverend Alfonso Jackson Jr., I stand in his stead to welcome you all tonight. Unfortunately, he could not be here, and to use his words that he says very often, he is the father of 3 whole children. And he said anyone with children usually understand the complexities of that. And so something came up and he could not be here, but he did send me to with a message of invitation for you all. And so I will read his statement at this time. But certainly we understand and appreciate, and Pastor does a great job with us here at New Shiloh, making sure we understand the significance of the connection and the bridge between the church, the community, and indeed the well-being of people. And certainly I know that that is much of what this organization represents, and so I welcome you to this Economic Opportunity Action Roundtable on behalf of Pastor Jackson. And his greeting reads as follows: Good evening and welcome to New Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, affectionately known as the Place of Peace. Though I regret that I cannot be with you tonight, I am grateful for this important gathering as we continue Dr. King's unfinished work of advancing both systemic equity and economic opportunity. I especially want to thank Marcus Bright and Cedric Dawkins for their leadership and commitment to our community. May this place of peace tonight become a place of possibility, a place of partnership, and a place of progress as we continue the unfinished work of justice and move from conversation to transformation. God bless you all and welcome to New Shiloh. And so again, on behalf of Pastor Jackson, we extend our warmest and heartfelt welcome to you all. And we pray for wisdom and guidance as you forge forward in defining this most important objective. At this time, I'm going to ask Cedric to come, Dr. Marcus to come at this time to lead the rest of the way in this gathering. Come on, let's encourage him as he comes.
Thank you very much. That was an outstanding word. Possibility, partnership, and progress. Thank you all so much for being here this evening for the Economic Opportunity Action Roundtable, fulfilling Dr. King's economic justice dream. In June of 1956, in the height of the Montgomery bus boycott, the state of Alabama banned the NAACP. 5 days later, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth out of Birmingham said that you can ban an organization, but you can't ban a movement. And he and other ministers and activists created the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights. And it was indeed that movement that in 1963 invited Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference into Birmingham to conduct the Birmingham campaign with the aim of desegregating downtown merchants and desegregating public accommodations in Birmingham. And that movement, with the protests, with the dogs and the fire hoses, dramatized the plight of African Americans in this country and led to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, fed into the movement in Selma, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And after the passage of the Voting Rights Act, you saw a real pivot with Dr. King and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference into the economic arena. So Operation Breadbasket, which the concept was really started with Reverend Leon Sullivan in the late 1950s and early 1960s in Philadelphia, where they organized 400 congregations around what they call selective patronage under the slogan, "Don't buy where you can't work." And they ended up opening up thousands of jobs during that campaign. And in the height of that campaign, Dr. King invited Reverend Sullivan to come address the SCLC meeting in Atlanta. And the SCLC board in November of 1962 approved an Operation Breadbasket operation in Atlanta. Operation Breadbasket, bringing together people and congregations to organize, at that time, black consumer power to open up economic opportunity. It was then brought in 66 to Chicago. And a young man by the name of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who was then a student at Chicago Theological Seminary, was assigned to be the head of Operation Breadbasket. And they were able to mobilize that community also around not just consumer power for jobs, but consumer power for contracts, for promotion, for the buying of media advertisements, and for the depositing of economic, financial accounts into black banks, Seaway National Independence Bank, to help capitalize the community. I'm bringing this, I'm trying to lay the context for our gathering here, that Dr. King's vision, his dream, was not just one of social inclusion, public accommodations, not just political inclusion, voting rights, but also economic justice. So it was not just economic, not just even jobs and contracts. That was a great programmatic thrust, but also the Poor People's Campaign, which was explicitly talked about expanding it beyond black people to all nationalities, to all marginalized communities, to those who have been left out of the economic mainstream. And in fact, even when he died in Memphis, Tennessee, he was there protesting, advocating on behalf of sanitation workers there, on the way mobilizing for a Poor People's Campaign in Washington, D.C. to uplift the plight of the poor and to force the country to create an environment to pass sweeping legislation. And so that is the impetus for tonight, both to reflect, to think about Dr. King's work around economic justice, but also to think about what can we organize around collectively. What can we organize? What can we all come together to improve our economic trajectory here in the most unaffordable housing market, the most unaffordable, cost-burdened region in America? This is the time really for massive, not just programmatic action, but policy change. And it was Frederick Douglass who said that power will concede nothing without a demand. So we have to collectively come together and issue that demand. And so this is really an open conversation. I'm going to bring up our great president of the Miami-Dade branch of the NAACP, Daniela Pierre, who's a great partner on this. I'm also going to bring up Mr. Euless Cleckley, following her from the 100 Black Men, and then Mr. James Lopez from Power Youth Center for Social Change. And then we're going to open it up because we want to hear everyone's ideas about what it is that we can organize collectively from at this time. So at this time, let's welcome the president of the Miami-Dade branch of the NAACP, Daniela Pierre.
Thank you so much. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for taking the time on this evening when you could have been anywhere else to be here for such a very important conversation around economic opportunity. And as we have the conversation on this evening, something that we say throughout the NAACP is our vote is our currency. And as we are here tonight, and as many of us are reflecting on the outcome of last night's election, it's important that we also be reminded that our vote is so vitally important when it comes to conversations and gatherings like these, that we make certain that we are getting out the vote and encouraging our community, because all politics, all policies, and as we look at the county and their gathering for the budget season, all of that is local, right? So it's going to take all of us to continue to not only stay inside this room with the conversation. I need a mic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I figured you did. Gotcha.
Thank you.
There you go.
I'm good. Okay. So it's going to take us all not to just have the conversations inside the room, but to take it outside. Take it outside so that we can take those who are not engaged and informed in this part of advocacy. That's our responsibility. So as the president of the NAACP Miami-Dade Branch, and on behalf of our executive committee and to all of the event organizers, we recognize Cedric Dawkins and also Dr. Marcus Bright, and to Pastor Jackson and the entire New Shiloh family for allowing us to be here. And we know that economics is so important. Many reasons why we've heard for this last primary election why people may not have turned out deals with economics. You know, so many people in this very community are working 2 and 3 jobs. As the associate pastor mentioned, that the pastor here says he has 3 whole children, and so many have 3, 4, and 5, right? And they have to worry about daycare, they have to worry about health insurance, and let's not only talk about housing and affordability, there's also food insecurity that's happening right in our community. And all of that, even I look at your lowest transit, right? All of that takes a part of economics. So while we may not be in the same position directly back in the 1960s, but we still feel the impacts and the effects right now in 2026. So I'm hoping that tonight it can be something that we can continue to develop upon. And if we want to see action, right, we need to take these conversations and take these next steps to our county's budget meeting, because that's where the priorities for the people are developed, with or without you, right? With or without you. So as we're talking about economics in this room, it's also important that we're having the top of mind that we're going down to our county hall, making certain that they have funding in the budget for the priorities of the people, right, in all communities, not just the ones that are very affluent, but for all communities within Miami-Dade County. And we know that on tonight, hopefully the other part of the community is at North Dade Regional Library, because they're actually having a budget meeting tonight. But that's where those conversations happen. We have to be in those spaces, we have to have the information, and we have to further engage people, not just in this room, but the people that are outside. And I'll end with this, and I'm going to bring up something that Senator Bullard mentioned as it relates to voting. If you look at the actual turnout that happened on yesterday, we were below 20%. 18%. Okay? We were below 20%, 18% turnout. That means about 80% of people, right, stayed home, didn't vote, are not engaged, but still need what? Economic opportunity. So each of us in this room have a responsibility to do our part for the greater good of all. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having this gathering, and I look forward to the conversation. Thank you so very much.
All right, good evening, everyone. All right, so I'm Euless Cleckley. I'm a member of the 100 Black Men of South Florida, and I'm bringing you greetings from our president, Pierre Rutledge, who wanted to be here today, but he's on travel. And we have a couple members from the 100 that are here. Can you raise your hands? Okay, very good, Randy. All right. So we appreciate the opportunity to help support this economic roundtable. When Marcus reached out to me, I said, absolutely, we are very much engaged as an organization around economic empowerment. The 100 Black Men in South Florida, we are the preeminent organization around mentoring, but we have 3 other pillars outside of mentoring. We focus on health and wellness, education, and economic empowerment. And so putting us in a position where we're a part of the conversation is extremely important. And as we all know, in today's world and society, the next steps for our community is really based on how well we are set up economically. And so we need to figure out ways to work together and work collectively to advance us as a community as we move forward. I'm reminded, my parents grew up in the South, in South Carolina, and they both went to South Carolina State. And every time I go home, they continue to remind me of the same fight that we're fighting here today. My mother was raising her fist on the South Carolina State campus and was a part of the Orangeburg Massacre. That was in 1963. And that was an event that was significant because she was a student on that campus. She was fighting for just the opportunity to just go into a bowling alley. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with this. This is the Orangeburg Massacre that happened where the governor at that time called in the National Guard and shot 3 people, and she was a part of that. And when I talked to her, I'm like, we're dealing with the same foolishness today. So the more things change, the more things stay the same. And so this is a day-to-day fight that we're going to have to move forward with, and we have to figure out ways to be intuitive, innovative, and do it together. To be able to move our communities along. So that being said, definitely appreciate the opportunity to participate in the conversation. It's always difficult following Danielle and Dr. Bright in comments, but as our organization, we want to ensure that we are a partner as we move forward and we continue this fight. Just 2 other things I'll mention. About 3 weeks ago, we actually had a candidate forum where we leveraged some of the partnerships that are in this room to have all of the candidates at the congressional level and the state level and local level come together and address the community about their platforms. We have opportunity now. We have a couple of significant races, and the 100 is very much focused as a nonpartisan organization to provide that platform to hear from the candidates. And so when you see invitations for those particular forums or events, please come out. Because there's an opportunity to learn about the candidates' platforms and how it impacts our community. And then also, we have some other programming as well with the 100 that check our website out, check our Instagram out, and you'll see the opportunities to participate as we move forward. So thank you for the invitation and look forward to the discussion tonight. Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is James Lopez. I am the Executive Director of Power Youth Center for Social Change. We are co-located with the Miami Worker Center, and I'm super grateful to be here tonight. Our organization is committed to fighting for a Florida where everyday working people can live with dignity and stay. And I came here today because I love when Dr. Bright is always talking about the legacy of Dr. King, and I love the opportunity to talk about the legacy of Dr. King that is often ignored, which is the economic legacy. Obviously, we're in a situation where there's a huge legacy around civil rights that we're still fighting to this day, that folks have named. It's not just about the voter turnout, but we know it comes systemically from the ways in which our communities have been disenfranchised and chipping away at the gains that were fought decades ago. But rather than hear from me, I have 3 quotes that are directly from Dr. King that kind of hopefully highlight the kind of relevance to the conversation of economic opportunity. And so there's one quote that he says, talking about 2 Americas. He says, "One America is flowing with the milk of prosperity, But as we assemble here tonight, I'm sure that each of us is painfully aware of the fact that there is another America, and that the other America has a daily ugliness about it that transforms the buoyancy of hope in the American dream and transforms it into the fatigue of despair. He said this weeks before he was assassinated, talking to AFSCME. And I think as we are here talking in Miami, where we are increasingly becoming the bedrock where there are more billionaires here per capita, increasingly than any other part of the country, 10 miles away from abject poverty, I think that language of two Americas still remains. There's another quote that he says, he talks about segregation of the races. He says segregation of the races were a political strategy employed by bourbon interests to keep the Southern masses divided and the Southern labor the cheapest in the land. Now, society here in this country has moved a little bit, but we still see to this day the use of national identity to exploit everyday people, whether it is immigrant workers, whether it is black Americans here, whether it's white Americans. As far as I know, the federal minimum wage is still the same. And the lack of labor rights still exists, still relevant decades later. And the last thing I want to say, which feels very important to ground this, especially when we're talking about economic opportunity, especially folks talked about the results from last night's primary election and the national discourse on the spectrum, the ghost of socialism or democratic socialism. Dr. King, you could look in the history books, identified as a democratic socialist. If you want to challenge me, go look at the books. But he has a quote that he says when someone asked him about socialism. He says, well, in this country, we actually have a system that is socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor. And we see this today with massive corporate landlords, massive investment firms buying up real properties. Everything in Miami, everything in Florida, and quite frankly, the rest of the country is becoming more expensive, more unaffordable at a time where we have literal trillionaires walking the planet. And so as we're having this kind of conversation about economic opportunity, it just feels important to kind of name the kind of ghost in the machine, because every single time we start talking about equality, they start using words to scare our people. And we are also in a state that misinforms our history, and there's a whole other conversation to be had where anytime there were black freedom struggles talking about economic rights, those folks get looped in with the communists, with the Soviets. Yeah. And so as we're talking about opportunities, I want to make sure that we hold that historical importance. Last but not least, in terms of a concrete action, our organization, in partnership with the Miami Worker Center, in partnership with Florida Rising and PAC, we recognize that not everybody in our community is going to vote or be inspired by a candidate because everything is too expensive. Part of our hope is that we know we're not going to get out of this mess without increasing voter turnout. So what are we going to do? Part of what we want to put forward is we're in the process of launching an attempt to have a ballot initiative to put rent control on the state ballot in 2028. And so we have folks right now who in this fall, we're going to be collecting survey responses, convening people, because the way the state legislature has also rigged everyday people getting involved in ballot initiatives, we're placing a bet that can we actually generate the energy to get people to leave the house on the number one issue that's informing whether or not they stay in Florida or not, and that's housing. And so if you are interested in getting involved and helping us launch this ballot initiative for rent control, because we're going to need a lot of support, please come find us at our table. We have Geneva here with PACT. We have Nate, who's with the center, Greg Black, who's a member, and Senator Buller, as you all know, is with Florida Rising. So again, my name is James Lopez. I'm very grateful to be invited, and I hope that whatever lands today leads to kind of concrete, actionable steps. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. And that's exactly what we want to hear. We want to hear now as we move into the open mic portion, 3-minute maximum, your pitch in terms of what's one thing that we can do. Give us one thing that we can, one idea to organize around. And just by way of many of you have already picked this up. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Center for Community Self-Help, which is a family of nonprofit organizations that includes 2 credit unions, 1 community development finance loan fund, where a lot of commercial lending for affordable housing, for community health centers, for church buildings. But then we also have a research and policy arm called the Center for Responsible Lending. Underneath that is the Julian Bond Center for Financial Equity Research, and they just put out this report, Ambition Without Access, Race, Generation, and the Barriers to Wealth Building in America. And I wanted to just acknowledge our state president here today, Mr. Sam Cheshire. Sam. And let me just give you my policy idea. As many of you all know, and this is an economic issue, in New York City, they have full-day universal pre-K for all 4-year-olds. They also have full-day universal pre-K for all 3-year-olds. They're working on, and the new mayor, Zoran Mamdani, is about to implement full-day child care for all 2-year-olds. In the state of Florida, we got half a day for 4-year-olds. This is an economic issue because by them doing that, you're saving families tens of thousands of dollars a year and putting their children in high-quality early learning environments. And it frees up a parent to go back into the workforce to bring income into the house. This is real. This is a 2-generation workforce issue. Now, I understand we fought hard. It's a very uphill battle at the state level to get that done. But that doesn't mean that we can't make some kind of change. The city of Miami Beach has universal pre-K. City of Miami Beach has universal pre-K. They made it a priority at the municipal level to provide scholarships to create at least full day to cover the rest of the day that VPK does not cover. I would like to see some of our municipalities. I understand the property tax issue. I understand everything else that's going on, but this has to be a priority. And unfortunately, it has not been prioritized. I haven't heard it other than the question I asked. I've heard it's been a periphery issue even in our election cycle. Universal pre-K, 4-year-olds. I don't care if it's the federal, state, or local level. That's my policy recommendation and idea. And the next person who we'll hear from today is Senator Dwight Bullard. And go ahead. Oh yeah, it's open mic right after Brother Bullard. Actually, well, yeah, go ahead, come on, go ahead, raise your hand.
As a 600 credit score. Thank you. Most banks, you have to have a 640 credit score. So when you don't have the credit score and you don't have access to the capital, you don't have access to the programs, then you can't buy a house. So I have 600 credit score programs. I also have hiring. A lot of people don't understand that if you can't get a job or you can't have access to capital because you can't get into the institutions, one of the ways around it is to hire yourself and bring the access to capital to your community. So that's what I've done. I can hire licensed people. I also show people how to get licenses so that they can get into the industry and bring access to capital to wherever they want to bring it to. Thirdly, we talked about, the lack of voting. So I heard a number like 12%. So I'm assuming that the percentage of the votes were other ethnicities. I'm not sure what ethnicities it is, but I know I do a lot of loans for people with ITINs. I do a lot of loans for people with no social security numbers. I do a lot of loans for foreign nationals. That means that they don't live in America. So if I'm doing loans for those type of people, then there's definitely loans available for everybody in this room and everybody that you know in the community. Lastly, there's access to housing that I see that a lot of people don't know about in their community called foreclosures. There's also property lists on discounts. I have funds that you can purchase those properties and get funds to renovate those properties. Therefore, you'll have access to equity, a lower price than everybody else is paid in your community, and it's an easier way for you to purchase property again. So if the foundation is access to capital, information, if the foundation is real estate, then I just wanted you to know, if you didn't know, that there are solutions. I've used them in my own life, so much to the point that I didn't have to use my college education. And I just don't like to keep hearing people say that all the challenges. It's a reason why someone doesn't want you to know about the solutions. So I have tons of solutions. I'm licensed. And there's no middlemen. You know, a lot of things that I see going on to discourage people and make people skeptical. We have employees. We're 7 days a week. And we bring opportunities to many communities. And that's why I focused on employment, because a lot of things are happening because people can't have jobs. And if you can't have a job, if you can't bring your own capital to your own community, if you always have to say someone else is holding you back, then you'll never get anything. So I'm a living proof. I don't have to call anyone for a loan. I don't have to call anyone for a home. I don't have to call anyone for insurance. So there's no one holding me back. And it's just a lot of fallacy. So I'm just here to show you that from A to Z, I can show you how to get things done in your community, from small business to large corporation. We have a lot of funding for small business, SBA, and it's a lot of people that just don't know that you can purchase a board up, a storefront, a plaza, and you could put your own stores in there. And now you control your own market. And you have the access to capital because I'm the lender. And no one would discriminate against you because I'm the branch manager. And that's, I'm with Nationwide Loan Options. I'm also a branch manager with the Mortgage Link, and I'm a commercial lender as well as a residential lender. So I have two institutions basically, and that's the Mortgage Link and a commercial branch, which is nationwideloanoptions.com.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll now hear from Senator Dwight Bullard, Mr. Desmond Meade, and then Mr. Gene Belazar.
Thank you, Dr. Bright, for putting me smooth on the spot, because I was just here to listen and learn. But in the spirit of solutions, a couple things that I don't want people to miss. Just by show of hands, everyone here is a Florida resident? Yes? Everyone? No out-of-state folks? Okay. Just wanted to make sure, because I'm about to get real Florida specific. And if you have Florida friends, you can tell them. Kind of two things that are stand out for me in this moment. One is the proliferation of data centers, countrywide, but Florida specifically. There's a lot of capital investment in artificial intelligence. A lot of folks are trying to, of course, tell folks, well, make sure the investment that you're making is tied to AI, and then justifying the building of those data centers because of the fact that the system is caught up in a particular economic spiral related to artificial intelligence. And I'm not here because a lot of us use it, guilty or not. We're on Claude, Chat, and all these other things. But the problem is that people are presenting to you now that the only way for AI to flourish is for these large data centers to pop up in your backyard. These data centers that require only fresh water for the cooling of their systems, that require available land space to the tune of thousands of acres, and provide no economic benefit outside of the construction, right? So the actual day-to-day operations for many of these spaces require teams of less than 12 people, right? So no real economic return of investment for folks who are seeking jobs, right? And when I say a lot. What I'm saying is that we've seen just in the last 5 years, 800 of these built across the country in the last 5 years, with the expectation of another 3,500 in the queue for the next 10 to 12 years. Many of states have signed on to these deals. We know that our governor in this state is professed to try to balance the impacts on environment versus the construction of these entities. And I just want to remind folks this. A, if you got a cell phone, look at it. The reason I say look at it is because what you find in terms of technology in that cell phone used to take up rooms bigger than this, right? People forget the old winding things and the data things and how big desktops were. Technology has now told us that it can shrink. So ultimately, data centers become obsolete very quickly, which means someone's pitching you an idea about something to be built within 12 years that will be obsolete within 15, right? That's the vicious cycle. And the problem is, if they extract resource in terms of water supply, if they take up land space, at that point there is no conversion of that property into something that is useful or beneficial to community. So those of you, the reason I'm bringing this up is because if you are an affordable housing supporter, if you are somebody who believes in the use of utility for public good, somebody who just doesn't like paying a lot for their electric bill, this is just bad policy, straight up. And what and just to put a finer point on it, when asked, this is from the Zuckerbergs and Bezos of the world, when asked, could you create a cooling suppression system that does not require fresh water, they both answered, we could, but why would we do that when we have a free supply of water available to us for the cooling of these properties, right? So, for those who remember Superman's arch nemesis Lex Luthor, or the supervillains of comic book eras, this is the point where we're at right now in terms of people trying to extract. So I want to leave that there. The last thing I would say is, very simply put, vote no on Amendment 3. Vote no on Amendment 3. On the November ballot, if the courts don't, knock on wood, completely obliterate it and take it off the ballot, you will have an amendment on property tax, what they're calling property tax reform, right, or whatever they try to create it or make the mythology out of it. The reality is, we're a sales tax heavy state. Sales tax are regressive in nature because they create a broader impact on the poorest people. The reason property tax is instituted the way it is that it's supposed to have a disproportionate effect on those who can afford it most. Meaning that you got the money to pay for a big house, then you got the money to pay for big property tax. Those property taxes then should be used for public good. Amendment 3 could very well do damage to the very kind of core values and public goods that we not only have become accustomed to, but require in order to have a functioning society. Just estimates based on any number of financial impact nonprofits that have done it put the immediate impact of the passage of Amendment 3 somewhere between $8.6 billion and $14 billion in the first year. What that translates to is a quarter cut of all municipal budgets, right? So you can only imagine the chaos created when a local government has to cut its budget by a fourth. A fourth. And I'm gonna make it very simple for y'all. If you like getting your garbage picked up once a week, that's gonna be the first thing to go, right? That kind of thing. So just those simple creature comforts that you're accustomed to when now somebody says, well, now we have to move your garbage pickup to once a month or once every 2 weeks. Oh, you want to go to the park? Well, we ain't got no program money for said park. You talk about, pre-K for 4-year-olds. Not only will you not get the pre-K for 4-year-olds because you don't have the resource to do it at the state and local level, supplemental programs at those parks for those 4 and 5-year-olds will be substantially impacted and cut. So I just want to remind folks that don't, some of y'all get the reference. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And people just all of a sudden getting messed over with this thing. So again, I'll end the way I started. Vote no on Amendment 3. And I'll go take my seat now.
I just want to give a disclaimer before I bring up this next speaker. I want it to be
Good evening. So I'm glad you said all that right, because I'm not even coming as a candidate. Right? I'm coming as a person that's, well, you know what? There you go. Let me do that. I like that. Because, hey, that's a good catch, right? Because no, I really am not. Now, I was busy doing some other work, and I knew about this meeting, and I always wanted to be a part of it, and I was already running late. So I didn't have a chance to change my shirt out. But really, I'm not. I really am not, because, at the end of the day, listen, I've been in this community for quite some time. I was basically raised there. I started at Martin Luther King Primary School. From there to Holmes Elementary. From there, some of y'all, if you're old enough, remember West Dunbar. That was just there for a second, right? And then to Allapattah, from Allapattah to Westview, from Westview to Miami-Edison Senior High. So I've been here for quite some time. Had some rough spots in my life. In 2005, I found myself standing in front of railroad tracks on 22nd Ave, waiting on the train to come so I can jump in front of it. At the time, I'm homeless, recently released from prison, hooked on crack cocaine, unemployed, all of those things. And there was no light at the end of the tunnel. What I didn't know was that God had other plans. But I stood there and I waited, and I was just thinking about how much pain I was going to feel when I jumped in front of that train. But he held that train up, and I ended up crossing those tracks and walked a couple blocks further, and I checked myself into drug treatment. And I did a 4-month program right off of 32nd Avenue and 78th Street. And after completing that program, I moved back into a homeless shelter again, Chapman Partnership, that's on 15th and North Miami Avenue. And while there, I decided to do something different. So I said, let me go to school and get an education, because maybe that could prevent me from relapse, because I had a whole bunch of stopping drugs and getting back on drugs and stopping drugs. And so that's what I did. I enrolled in the paralegal program at Miami-Dade College, ended up graduating at the top of my class. My professors encouraged me to continue my education. So I pursued a bachelor's degree in public safety management with a concentration in criminal justice. And I did it because I figured, since I had a lot of experience getting arrested and going to jail and appearing before judges, that maybe that would help me out in the classroom, and it did. And I ended up graduating with highest honors. And I eventually got accepted into Florida International University College of Law. And I accepted that invitation to join them, and in May of 2014, I graduated with a Juris Doctorate degree. And so at that time, I told them I had 2 doctorate degrees, a doctor of law and a doctor of the streets. And in between that process, from the time I was in treatment, I really had a reconnection with my higher power, who I choose to call God, because I was born into a Christian family, and I found my way back, and I understood when I was in that treatment facility what God's purpose for me was. And once I realized what that was, I finally discovered the joy I was chasing all my life and didn't even know why I was chasing it. And it was very simple. It was just to give back. And I've been doing that since 2005. And so when I say I'm here not as a candidate, because see, I've been doing this work. See, the things that people are now coming in front of you saying, vote for me, I might do this, or vote for me. I've never done this before, but I promise, wink, wink, if you vote for me, I'm going to do it, right? Nah, see, I already got receipts. I've been doing this work since God called me to do this work back in 2005. And so I end up serving in the community. I serve in the Miami-Dade Homeless Trust. So as a person who's been homeless for about 8 years, I also had the other side of it by serving alongside our chairman, Ron Book, right, to reduce homelessness at that time, right? And then I end up starting an organization called Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. And that organization, through another vision of God, we decided to lead an effort to change the Constitution in the state of Florida to create a pathway for people with felony convictions to be able to have the right to vote. And in November of 2018, I successfully led the effort to restore voting rights to over 1.4 million formerly incarcerated or convicted people here in the state of Florida. Ooh, that's a lot, isn't it? So I forgot to say, thank you, Dr. Bright, because you're the only one that got this thing right by calling me up after Dwight Bullitt. All right, thank you so much, because he's a hard act to follow. But when I did that, let me tell you what happened, right? And this is nothing but God. You know, I end up, because of the efforts in my organization, Time Magazine named me one of the 100 most influential people in the world. The MacArthur Genius Foundation actually awarded me a Genius Grant. In Florida, Bob Graham Center for Public Affairs named me Citizen of the Year. In Florida, the Orlando Sentinel named me Central Floridian of the Year. This is a bunch of years in the making. And in 2023, my organization was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize by the same organization who nominated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I say that, all of that, to say not look at me, but look at God, right? And there's no doubt in my mind that God has taken me through the things that he has taken me through to prepare me for a moment such as this, right? As a person that have experienced all level of homelessness, right, to a point to where, yeah, Dwight, I'm the one of the people that's paying a whole bunch of taxes now because I live in a nice little house, you know. But that's just part of the growth. But what I want to just touch on, because a senator, I should say, Bullitt really touched on, I want to really reemphasize it. And what I go around when I talk to people, I talk about is that old Capital One commercial. What's in your wallet? I want to talk about what's coming into your wallet, and is it matching the inflation rate? And then what's coming out of your wallet, and are you getting a good return on that investment, right? And now when I think of, like, with me and my wife, when we're doing our budget and stuff start getting tight, what I learned was that we're going to have to do one out of three things. We're going to either have to reduce our expenses, we're going to have to increase our revenue into the household, or we're going to have to do a combination of both, right? That's how we make it out. What we don't do when we experience a budget crisis is quit our jobs. What we don't do is eliminate the revenue sources, right? We don't do that because that's what? Crazy. And so I'm with Senator Bullitt when you say you got to say no to this amendment around property taxes, because you don't eliminate sources of revenue, right, in periods when it's hard. But my brother here, he talks about opportunities, economic opportunities, and that's what I talk about, because what I do know is over the last 10 years, the state of Florida has lost over $300 billion of lost earnings because of restrictions that they place on people like me, because I am a returning citizen. I've made mistakes in my life, and I've gotten some felony convictions, right? But because of that, I can't get certain jobs. I can't get certain occupational licenses. I can't start certain businesses. And so my earning potential is extremely limited. And research has shown that every year $30 billion is lost. $30 billion that could have been coming into our economy. Now, what I do know is that when me and my wife, if we're experiencing budget crisis, that grown son I got living in my house, guess what he gonna do? He ain't gonna get out. He gonna get him a job. He's gonna get him a job. If we got able-bodied people in our household and we are experiencing a budgetary crisis, what do? Okay, y'all got to strap up. Y'all got to contribute to the pot. Y'all got to contribute to the tax base. And so helping relieve people of any kind of financial or fiscal burden, one of the ways that we solve that is by increasing contributions to the tax base. That means allowing people like me to earn money so I could pay my fair share. And so you don't have to carry that weight. And Brother Bullitt already talked about it. It might be some people that have to pay for other folks, but you don't have to pay for everybody, because all we have to do is open up, remove these unnecessary barriers, because what we know is that none of those barriers do anything to help anybody. All of these so-called tough on crime bills and these tough on crime legislations or rhetoric is just nothing but campaign speech fodder to get you to vote for somebody who has no intentions of ever relieving your pain. I want to keep it 100, because these issues didn't just start last year. It didn't just start last cycle. These issues are symptoms of an ongoing problem with our system, right, that we choose to call democracy. I'm just keeping it 100 with y'all. Right. The other thing I'd like to share, and we talked about mortgages, right, and owning homes. We know that every time a person buys a home in our community, it generates $122,000 assimilation into our local economy. Right. This is not my thing. This comes from the National Realtors Association. $122,000 into our economy. Now, there's over 6 million people that's living in the state of Florida that's like me. Now, I done told y'all all my accolades, right? I got receipts, right? Remember? I mean, listen, first of all, y'all didn't even clap when I laid that stuff out. Like y'all meet somebody every day that's time 100, a MacArthur genius, a Nobel Peace Prize. Now, y'all meet that type of person every day, right? Come on, y'all know y'all ain't met nobody like that yet. Especially somebody that say they want to be a servant for you, right? Okay. So even with all of that, y'all, I catch hell buying a home. For real, I catch hell because I could get right to the door. I got the money, I'm ready to go, and the mortgage company might say, you know what, we got a better deal somewhere else. The owner might say, we might have a better deal somewhere. Because somewhere along the line, someone looked at my background and seen that 20-something years ago, I had a felony conviction. And because of that, I can't, in some homeowners association, I can't even rent a house, much less buy a house. And so if I am prevented, if you got 6 million people that are prevented from buying a home, right, which every time they buy it is what I told you, $122,000, if somebody do the math and you multiply 4.5 million times $122,000, and you'll get somewhere near $500 billion. $500 billion that could have been poured into our community were it not for these antiquated laws that nobody have a legitimate reason on why it's still on the books. I know this because we had an antiquated law that was on the books saying that people with felony convictions couldn't vote. And nobody did jack about it. But see, I'm that dude. I'm that dude that don't wait for permission. And that's why when all the experts said it was impossible, that the polling didn't say it was going to be successful, or you needed hundreds of millions of dollars and you don't got nothing, Desmond, because you just 5 years removed from being homeless. When all the experts said it was a waste of time, I said, but God. See, because I know what he called me to do, right? And we did that, and we changed that Jim Crow law in the state of Florida. And that's why 1.4 million people right now in Florida have a pathway, right, to be a part of our democracy. It's the same thing, y'all. Ain't nothing changed. It's some old stuff. This ain't nothing brand new. These are systems that are designed, right, to keep us subjugated, right, to a ruling class. And let me tell you something. It's more red and blue than black and white. And That's all I got to say, man. I'm going to leave it alone because I didn't come here to campaign. I just came here to share some of my wisdom and my experience as an advocate in this community that has been doing the work already without having the title, right? And if anybody questions my ability to do the work, all they have to do is check my receipts, right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. He certainly raised some important issues. At this time, this is the real open mic period here now. So we'll start with Gene Belazar, and then the mic is open. I wanted to, this is rare that, people, we leave the mic open. We go to many events and listen to folk talk. So now it's your opportunity to come. So I'm going to Mr. Belazar and then Miss Brenda.
Thank you, Marcus. Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jean Belazaire. By day, I'm a corporate banker with Santander Bank. In the evening, I sit on a couple of boards, the Little Haiti Housing Association, the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. I'm what I describe myself as a servant leader, all right? I'm here to serve the community. Tonight is about solutions, but I want to say two quick things. Do you know who the biggest welfare recipient is in this country? Walmart is one of the largest welfare recipients in this country. The owners of that are billionaires, yet the majority of their employees are on public assistance. Recently, and again, this is nonpartisan, so let's be clear about that. We're just talking facts. Recently, a trillionaire had the audacity and the power to fire thousands of federal employees who just were doing their job without any care or any consideration for the impact of that in their communities. And a lot of these folks were people of color that got fired from their federal jobs. So just to lay it out there, these are just statements of fact. Talking about solutions, and something Marcus, who's a great friend of Little Haiti Housing Association, and I'm going to explain what we do real quick. Something that Marcus and everybody just said, voting is important. Voting is one of the powers and one of the tools that we can utilize to advance our economic situation. Period, end of story. I spoke to somebody from Mississippi the other day, and I was asking him, I'm like, I don't understand why as many black folks that we have who live in the South. And his answer to me was like, our vote doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. If it mattered, they would have given us a day off, make it a federal holiday on November 7th, so people can take the time out of your job to go and vote. So again, voting is key, especially at the local level, because again, at the federal level, we're not impacted by these things. At the local level, it's important. And why I bring this up? Again, I'm one of the executive board members of Little Haiti Housing. We own a couple of buildings in North Miami, and we just broke ground on a project in Little Haiti in the middle of Miami on a 12-story, 96-unit building for affordable housing. And that's what we do. And we think it's important for us. We do other things, home buyer education, a lot of the stuff that you were mentioning, provide first-time home buyer funding assistance and all that good stuff. We know affordable housing is critical in this community. If you're paying $2,300, $2,200 for a one-bedroom apartment in Miami-Dade County, there's no way in hell, excuse my English, that you can save up to buy your own home. It's impossible. Not only that, I have 3 grandchildren. My daughter, ages 4, 3, and 1. She was blessed. They came like that, especially when doctors said she couldn't have children, but they came back to back. Daycare for each one of these kids is $300 a week. So 4 kids, $900 a week. You can do the math. So literally, she's working, her and her husband. They're, working class folks. The husband works for a waste management. She works for a doctor's office. Her salary is to pay for daycare. If she doesn't have the salary, she's either going to have to quit her job. And again, like Mr. Desmond just mentioned, less income, the situation gets worse, right? So, 2 major things that need to really be addressed, and especially for a party that says they're the party of the family. We need early childhood education and universal daycare, and we also need support in housing. Going back to our project that we just broke ground, the building is going to cost us $52 million for 96 apartments, which bring you the average cost per apartment at $541,000. The average rent that we're going to charge is about between $800 and $1,100. So we're going to spend the rest of our lives paying for the mortgage on that building. And why we say this is important, we started the concept of that building 7 years ago. When we started it, it was at $28 million. Still expensive, but the average cost was half of what it's going to be per apartment. Today, when we close, it's at $52 million because of the delay in regulation with the city of Miami. It took 2 years. So if we're talking about solutions, pressure points, 2 years to get building permits for an affordable housing project. 2 years. Give them plans, they're like, Then you needed the blessing of a county commissioner. Again, when I'm talking about local votes, local election matters, we had, and I'm not going to point at it, but we had to lobby, beg, plead with the local county officials to give us some funding to make up the finance stack to get to this point where we can break ground and get the bank financing. Begged, literally. I can tell you how many times I went to the city, went to the county, spoke to different counties, city commissioners. We literally had to beg, and finally we found one, and I'll always praise Christine King for this. She, put in the $2 million to make it happen. But again, like I said, voting is important. Issues are important, and those are the solution. So all I'm saying is this, and on final word, housing is a critical component of establishing generational wealth. If we don't have affordable housing and deal and handle our children, our future, with universal pre-K, free universal pre-K for children up to 5 years old until they get to first grade, we will always be stuck in this rut where we're spending money that we don't have, where we're not building equity, where we're not advancing the ball forward. Housing is important, affordable housing is important, and any vote that we find has to support that initiative. Last point, candidate Meade said something that's very important. Oh no, Senator. These amendments on these ballots, look, I'm an educated man. I don't understand half of what they're asking us to vote yes or no on. There's got to be a law to simplify these ballot initiatives so we understand what we're voting for. And they need to come out way in advance so we have time to talk to our pastors, to talk to community leaders, to understand what we're voting for. Because again, this property tax issue, it may sound great, and trust me, I have a whole, anybody, always, we can always get a break. But I also understand if I'm not paying the property tax, something's going to fall by the wayside. So I don't think it's a good idea. But like you just explained it, Amendment 3, we got to vote no because, again, we need those property taxes for our local community. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me.
Good to see you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brenda Morrison. I am based out in Broward, but officially I serve as a South Florida field manager for Equal Ground. Some of you in the room might be familiar with the organization. It is a Black-led voting rights organization based out in Orlando, but they do work all across the state. And so over the last month, I stepped into the role as a South Florida field manager, and many people who know me, know my work, know about my organizing work, know that I could be doing a bunch of different things aside from this. And I feel compelled, convicted to do this type of work because of one event I went to that the organization had, and a statistic came out. And so I am just going to give you all the preference that I'm going to be on the voting drum. But they mentioned that there are less of registered black voters voting now than there were in 2019. And that's a problem for me. I've spent a lot of work doing nonpartisan organizing, so I'm not really focusing on candidates or a party, but I'm talking to them about issues, not really talking at them, letting them vent to me, but giving them some encouragement for them to understand that voting is a floor, but not the ceiling. You can't get to the ceiling if you don't participate in making sure the floor is structured. So this work is very, very important to me. Prior to this, some of you might be familiar with my face. I worked at the Miami Foundation with their Open for Business program that allowed for $20 million to flow down to Miami to help small businesses and nonprofits stay rooted in the area after the pandemic. So again, could be doing a lot of different things with my time, but I think I'm more convicted to do work like this right now. And so I am going to, again, beat on the voting drum because doing a program like that, it was a 3-year program. In the middle of that, things were happening with DEI. Questions were coming up of even if we could have a program like that because it had certain predicaments around it being place-based, where we wanted the money to flow down to historically underserved communities that were not invested in. As well as we had strict requirements that we wanted to ensure that the money floated to founders, business owners, and nonprofit leaders who identified as Black, Latino, refugee. All of that came under scrutiny thereafter as we were doing the program. So voting matters for a lot of things that we want to push out in terms of resources that the government doesn't necessarily care to do or have the capacity to kind of fulfill. And so as I was looking at this report, what stuck out to me is on page 20, where they have this figure talking about the retirement savings aspiration. They have a chart that shows between Gen Z and millennial, and they are kind of prefacing it by in terms of how both Gen Z and millennial don't believe that they will be able to achieve the goal of retirement. They don't feel that they're on track. Some of them might feel that they're on their way, or those who have achieved that goal. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of the legislation, especially federally, and then when you push it down locally, are going to hurt those who are coming after me. I identify as a millennial. The idea of trying to own a home, the idea of thinking that you can retire, you can stay at a place, not possible. We often get a lot of flack for jumping from gig to gig. We're not a person that stays at a job for like 10, 15 years. Not because we don't want to, but the opportunity to be able to stay and grow is just not possible. But what hurts me is being able to see that I'm not just doing the work just for myself. I think a lot of people who care about community are not just doing it for themselves, but you're doing it for those that are coming up after you. And the possibility of not even being able to see how they are able to attain it is a problem. Marcus kind of led the opening about Martin Luther King's work. I'm an organizer at heart, so I love the Ella Bakers of the world. And so thinking a lot about what was sacrificed, knowing that they probably would never live to see it, but they dreamed of doing the work anyway. That is where we're at right now. That is where we're at. That is where we are at. That is why, for me, I took on my role with the organization that I did, because obviously the way how we engage, the way how we try to motivate, or we try to figure out what is at the heart of people not engaging in this is not working. So modes in which we are able to engage in people to kind of say, hey, this is a detriment to your future, and they can't see it directly right now, we have to think about it differently. We may never know if these numbers will increase over time as we are trying to kind of move the political ladder along the way. But we still have a responsibility to ensure that we're stewarding the next generation well, so that they understand, like, yes, this is hard, rugged work, but you need to do it anyway, even though you might not reap or the benefits or the fruits of it. We are sitting in what we're sitting in right now because, again, people spent a whole day to go vote. I think a lot about the story of Otis Moss, Sr. Oprah talks about his story all the time, about how he spent a whole day to try to vote. He got turned around. By the time the next election happened, he died. Came on in his good suit. We have the opportunity to have what we have, even with the restrictions that we have. We have a responsibility to build underneath that. I don't care how hard it gets, I don't care how difficult it gets. The Gen Zs of the world, the Gen Alphas of the world, they looking. And if they're not seeing as much fortitude from us, even when we have a lot of uncertainty happening, we're doing a disservice to them. I wasn't built this way. Most people think like I'm a native down here. I spent majority of my life here, but I'm actually an immigrant. Came here from Jamaica. So you can imagine the culture shock of trying to find myself. Thankfully, you know, I've connected with a good amount of people, and I found what my purpose was, and I found what my voice was going to be and how I was going to use it. But thankfully, I didn't come in under the limitations that a lot of the younger folks are coming into now. So we got a responsibility that as much as they annoy us, as much as they frustrate us, with the ignorance sometimes, and it ain't even just the young people, too. But we have an opportunity when we think about this whole economic space, voting affects everything. Everything. And we have to find a way. Thank you so much, Marcus, for this report. And thank you, Sam. I think Sam might have left. But thank you for this report. We have an opportunity to go use this. Go make the case very well to people of why they need to engage. And if they're not, listen to them and still figure out a way how we can motivate them to be engaged. It's not going to work if we don't do that. That's all I have.
All right, we got about 25 minutes left, so we're going to do 2 to 3 minute reflections. You all can come on up.
Thank you. Can you hear me? So, hi, my name is Terry Ann Brown. On my day job, I serve as the Senior Director for an initiative that focuses on workforce development. So because workforce has come up in a few conversations, I wanted to bring some data and just some numbers that I follow very closely. So number one is our labor migration. And what does it mean for the average salaries of what's moving into our region being $198,000 per year, and the outbound migration average salary of $98,000 per year. So that means that the folks that are able to pick up and move definitely are middle income folks that are probably being pressed out of the market, can no longer afford rent, can no longer afford their home. The other data that I take a look at is, let's break down the age range of who is leaving our market. The ages of 30 to 34 years old are leaving greater than any other age group. We know that we have 45 years old and greater coming in, but when you start to lose 30 to 34-year-olds, that becomes your late, early, mid-career talent. That's potentially your managers. Those are potentially people that have your bachelor's degree. Maybe they're looking to settle down and start a family. Maybe they're looking to purchase a home. They're looking for daycare, and costs are just becoming too high. Where they are going, based off of the latest census report, they're going to places like North Carolina, Atlanta, Port St. Lucie, Tampa Bay, where it's not necessarily that the wages are higher, it's just that the cost of living is lower. And when I break down that data even more to look at the demographic of who is leaving, so to your point about black registered voters, black women are leaving this metro area greater than any other racial demographic group. Tampa, Port St. Lucie, Orlando, Atlanta, and North Carolina. Yeah. And that's based off of the last census data poll that we were able to pull. And so of that 30 to 34 year age group, black women are the biggest in that age group that are leaving than anything else. And so when we talk about workforce, when we talk about the investments that are being made to make sure that people can stay here, find sustainable jobs here, the program that the initiatives that I run are funded through the Department of Commerce. The gaps that we're seeing is if folks are not skilled enough and they take jobs in hospitality, they take jobs in service-based jobs, they stay there, and then they don't move beyond economic ladders. The struggle with that is when we start to talk about things like daycare and some of the wraparound supports. I've had conversations with moms that have said, I didn't take that promotion because if I did, that meant that my son, my daughter would no longer receive the services because I would move into an income bracket. So if there was a policy, if there was something, one of my biggest pet peeves is when it comes to things like WIOA, when it comes to things like leveraging some of the federal funding for training, that participants have to make a choice. Can I take advantage of this training full time and still get some sort of stipend and payment for it? Most of the time it's no. So we have to leverage things like the apprenticeship programs, where you can get paid on the job, but you need employers to get on board with that. That's my job, to try to get employers on board as much as possible. But we have to be able to, as community organizers, as community organizations, just express the need for anyone that's currently in some of those sectors, especially hospitality, get the reskilling, get the upskilling, and look at the career mobility opportunities for folks. And the reason I say that, Miami-Dade County Public Schools last year said they lost 13,059 students, right? And that's the pipeline. From a workforce perspective, that's the pipeline. They haven't put out the number yet as to how many students did not enroll in schools this year. We don't know. So we don't know. They did not show up, right? So in 2025, they did not show up. Broward County already this year said 11,000 did not show up in Broward County. And then on top of that, 30 employees due to TPS didn't show up at Broward County, right? So you've got charter schools, you've got immigration issues, you've got the labor migration issues. But if I was the call to action that I say to employers right now is if I knew that I was living, if I had a business somewhere where there's 13,000 less potential workers in the school system, and I have a labor migration issue where the working age group folks are leaving, and so now what we have left are the folks that maybe aren't leaving that are still here, and the people that are working that need to be reskilled and upskilled. That is an economic issue. We have to look at how are businesses going to sustain themselves with the workforce that we have. So that's the data that I'm going to share with you. From a workforce development perspective, it is critical that we create a culture of retraining, reskilling, upskilling, and just continued learning, especially for small business owners, because they are the ones that typically give people that first chance of a job as well and create that circular economy in their communities. So, thank you. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Keisha Guyton, and I'm coming from more so an expert on the experience. You are the expert because you all made the appropriations of going to college and, you know, doing things and becoming. But I'm the expert experiencing everything that you all talked about. And I feel like God put me in a place where I got to be able into almost all y'all organizations. I'm an NAACP advisor for the youth. I have been a peacemaker for the Circle of Brotherhood. I have worked for the Dream Defenders. Like, I don't been in all the organizations that go and get funding for them. And I'm not going to say none of them do what they say they ask y'all to give them the money for. But the lack of us having to compete with each other for this when we can become a collaboration. Collaboration is not a competition. So they competing for funding that they are able to do the work. We are able to do the work. I've been boots on the ground. I knocked on doors. I have lost my job from the county. I had to fight the county for 6 years. Instead of them giving me my job back, because they was the one who lost, they let me fight them for 6 years. So that's money that we could have been to Dade County. But they fought me for 6 years, took me to the 3rd Supreme Court for a job. Well, your retention level is not good. I was working for the transportation. Their retention is not good. I was there for 12 years, got hurt on the job, and they fired me. And I fought for that. So I'm learning that there's a domino effect that happens in our economy that we need to start realizing we don't need to let the domino fall. Because once housing fall, education fall, employment fall, safety fall, everything falls. So if we don't let the domino fall, none of these things can happen. And yes, voting matter, but you know why people don't feel like voting matter? Because the circus we just had down here in Florida. They spent money, millions of dollars that could have went into affordable housing to campaign smear the other. Do that make sense? When that same money could have been for health care, daycare, everything that you talked about. They raised millions of dollars just to get you to not vote for somebody. You know, they don't even spend the millions of dollars to educate you on how to vote. You know, I took my time out and I went through the list. Sometimes we have those places where we sit down, and when I was working for the Miami Worker Center, we sit down with them. You know, we bipartisan, so we're not telling them what to vote, but we're telling them, trying to let them understand what you say, because sometimes that and that though and that means something different. So I feel like as us in the room saying we really want to make a difference, we need to really, really do better with our funding sources and how we gather our people. Right now, you wouldn't believe it, I'm on Section 8. I fought for that. I lost it in the economy when it went up. I was looking for housing. I was paying $1,500 for a 3-bedroom. My landlord decided to sell her building. So she sold her building, and the person who came in the building, he was like, it was a duplex. It had a 2 on one side and a 2-2 on the other side. So the 2-2 was already vacant. So he wanted my side, of course. So once my lease was up, I had to go. So once I had to go out into this new shot up market. So for a 3-bedroom was $1,500. I got out there with $3,000. So Section 8 didn't want to pay. So I had lost my Section 8 because of them not being able to match the market. So guess who fought? I fought for 3 years and I got it back. Okay? I got it back. And why I got it back, I knew about the domino effects that happened to me. It's happening. I made them give more time to the people to look for stuff because it's so high now, it's hard for us to get into a place. They gave us more time. And when you lose your Section 8 for not being able to find a place, you don't get to have to have a meeting to say why you did this and stuff like that. Now, I done made it where if that happened, you get a chance to talk about what happened. Because see, they don't want you to be holding up this voucher and not doing it. Now they give them, first they was giving them a 60-day, then a return them. So it all the way went to now 160, and then you still get a chance to go in if you can't find a place, you know. And then I also want to add, because I'm trying to make this really quick, because I want to make sure y'all know. I want y'all to know what's really out there. I've been on Section 8 in Broward, and I gave up my Section 8. That's when I got a job with Dade County, and I gave up my Section 8 because I said somebody else might need it. Let me make room for somebody else. My caseworker told me, girl, don't do that many hours, girl, and you keep it low. Because they was only paying $84 for me because I was working in transit. So I said, no, I want to make it room for other people to do it. So I got off it. Lo and behold, 10 years later, I didn't know I was going to lose my job. I lost my job, and if I had that Section 8, it would have been a problem. But guess what came in the mail? Didn't even know 10 years ago I filed for Section 8 in Dade County. It came in the mail, and I was able to get that Section 8 that I did lose, but I did get it back. But what I wanted to bring in, you know how all that happened? The director of Section 8 came to the Miami Workers Center because we kept telling them, you know, these people are losing their job, and they're losing their Section 8, and they're going to lose it more because of the prices going up. And he sat down with us quarterly and sat down with us and trying to figure out ways to make it better. And that became because he sat down. So fast forward to what I'm trying to say to you now is we are creating and developing these houses saying they are affordable. I live in a housing of someone, I'm not going to say his name, that's finna do some affordable housing. But I'm living in your space and it's not affordable. But you say you're going to do affordable but I know it's because you're going to get some land, you're going to get some grants, you're going to get some block grant, you're going to probably get $10 for the property, you know what I'm saying? So you want to get involved in doing this. I went to the county to show them a way that you all can help people have real affordable housing. And this is how the initiative it would be, getting with these same organizations, having something where they have an innovation center, maybe having walk path, having most areas that get these new developments, they get these retail where they get Target, they get movie theaters, they get it. But you know what area they be in? They be in the other areas. But when we get ours, when they come and bring us, they give us these little bitty retail. And most of us don't have cars and everything. But most of them got cars, they got money. Some of them got money, they can get chauffeurs, you know what I'm saying? But in our area, why do we don't have it where we don't have the stores, the grocery store, the movie theater, the bowling alley? Well, we don't have to leave our place. So when they making these affordable housing for our community, they need to make it where it's really affordable and not Matchbox. That's another thing. I went to a place right here in Opelika. It's supposed to be only have 3 and 4 bedrooms. Some of them didn't have a closet. Make that make sense? But you want 3,000 and 4,000, and I ain't even got a closet. So my thing is, also the affordable need to go to the square footage of what you making, because you killing us with this amount, and y'all giving us these small square footage, so you can pack up these people. So I want us to do more, getting us some equality home, sustainable homes, real affordable homes, and make sure that it take care of food deserts, it take care of activities, it take care of walk parks, it take care of innovation, and it also dedicate to the young people. Because let me tell y'all talk about why these young people don't vote. I deal with young people, and you know what they tell us is, we understand what's going on, but you all don't want to invite them in the room. Y'all want to talk amongst them, talk about them, but they're not there making decisions with you all. They need you all, so because a lady told me the elder give the instruction and the youth drive the car. Y'all not giving them the right instructions, so they can't drive us to where we need to go. So I'm just asking you all that's in these positions, that's in these organizations, y'all got to think about the young. I'm sorry. Sometimes you can't teach y'all old dogs new tricks. So I don't really focus a lot with y'all, okay? I love y'all. Y'all got the wisdom, but y'all, I love to deal with them babies because them babies be on it. And yes, they don't keep jobs. You know why? It's not that they can't stay at a job. They believe in their worth. And if you're not going to pay me for what I work and I know I got this here, I'm out because I know I can go get me another job. So think about the youth more. Because I'm telling you, we were trying to get our kids to go places, and how y'all invested in these people to run for office? Y'all don't invest in them youth like that. We be begging for money just to take them so they can be educated. Taking them to conventions so they can be educated. We need you all to invest back into this youth, and you will have a better future. I promise you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ellis Keeter. I am an attorney by trade, but currently I'm working with State Representative Wallace Aristide as his legislative aide in District 107. Yeah. We represent most of Miami Gardens, all of North Miami Beach, a large part of Northeast Dade County. I don't know if I have a policy proposal per se. There already was a policy that passed in the state of Florida. I think we can go further. That required financial literacy for high school students. I think they have to pass something like a half credit hour personal finance course as a graduation requirement. But I think, I guess this is more of an appeal to us to just become more financially educated and to understand. I mean, you don't have to be, a CPA, but understand, cash flow. Understand things like home ownership is one of the best ways to build generational wealth, but understand that you don't necessarily have to own the home that you live in or live in the home that you own. If you can only afford a, $200,000 home, because right now we know in Florida $200,000 don't really get you a whole lot. But if you don't dream to live in the $200,000 home, but you can afford to buy it, somebody else might want to live in that $200,000 home and pay you rent. So you own the home, you're building the equity, you're getting some of the financial benefit from that, and maybe that'll subsidize where you live, if you like to live on the beach or if you like to live downtown in the high rise or wherever. So just kind of understanding that, like, you could have, if you have X amount of dollars coming in and X amount of dollars going out, knowing how that works. It's a balance. It's easy math. It's addition and subtraction. You don't have to be a genius to understand that kind of stuff. So I guess that would be the first appeal, is just financial literacy. As a matter of fact, we actually did an appropriation for a nonprofit that does financial literacy this year, and we got them $125,000 in the budget to put on a program for financial literacy. So I guess from the policy side, things like that, having people, organizations do financial literacy courses for people, or maybe taking what we've already done in the high school system, take it a little bit further and require, more than a half a credit hour, and maybe dive a little bit deeper into that. The other thing is, I would just make an appeal for us to be more civically engaged. Right now it's election season. Everybody's excited about the elections that happened yesterday. We were talking at our table about some of the outcomes. But the turnout was dismal this year. We would go around to the polls during early voting, and it was a ghost town. And I found myself wondering, do we not understand how important this primary election was? I mean, we just elected our congressperson in District 24 probably for the next 20 years, and nobody came to vote. So it baffled me. I really couldn't understand why nobody, and I was thinking, like, okay, I'm making excuses for us. It's an August election. People are waiting till November, but they don't realize there's no November for this race, for this congressional 24 race. there is a Republican candidate, but she don't stand a chance. We know that. Well, I do. Ellis thinks that. Based on the candidate, and this is not necessarily a party thing, but for me, if you've seen the candidate, I don't think she's ready to represent this area. And if she was a Republican and she showed herself to be competent in that area, then, I would give her fair consideration. But in my opinion, I didn't think she was ready. Just like a lot of the other candidates were not ready. But whatever, this is non-political, sorry. Sorry about that, Marcus. You should have stopped me. Sorry, my bad. Sorry, but as this is being recorded, anyways, but my point is, I think we should be more civically engaged. And the reason I say that is we have to understand that if you've ever watched the political process, right? There's you can learn all about this. You can watch every hearing that happens in the state of Florida on the Florida channel. They have all the committees, they have all the floor votes. And it kind of dawned on me last night. If you ever watch this, for anything to become law, it goes through a series of committees. Then it goes to the House or Senate floor where it's voted on. Then it goes to the governor for signature, right? My point with that is before anything becomes a law or a policy, it goes through several votes. You got to keep voting. And I think we lose our stamina a lot of times where we come out for the vote one time and we think, oh, that's done. We don't realize there's a runoff in 2 weeks and we don't come back out. We have to understand sometimes the issue, and Desmond can attest to this, the issue that you're fighting for does not get heard the first time, right? How many years did it take you, Desmond, to pass that? To get that amendment on the ballot? It took him 4 or 5 years to get it on the ballot. It got passed. He's still fighting to get it fully implemented. So it's an ongoing battle, and we can't lose our stamina in these things to become civically engaged and to learn about these processes. That kind of brings me to the next point of the civic engagement goes beyond just voting at the polls. That's extremely important. That is who we pick to be our leaders and to represent us and to draft the laws and to fight to get these things passed. But there are a lot of programs that are available to people that people don't take advantage of. I was just at a First Friday event in Miami Gardens. They do a business incubator at the Oasis. Danny Felton is the owner of the Oasis, and he does a business incubator every first Friday of every month where they bring businesses together. They talk about resources. It's a networking thing where people can meet each other and support each other's businesses. But there were 2 people from the county there that were offering services that I had no idea existed in the county. One of them was a transit. I can't remember the name of the program. But for small businesses, in exchange for some discount or some promotion that you offer to the public, you can get free advertising on the buses on Miami-Dade Transit. Yeah. And as a small business owner, how much would that change your business to see all the people riding the bus see your business right there and you pay nothing for it? Another program that was introduced to me at that meeting was, and again, I can't remember the name of the program, but I have the contact information for the person, but she works with the county, and what they will do is the county will help a small business hire someone, and they will pay that person's salary for up to like 3-4 months. They will pay to train to upskill your employees. That stuff is game changing for small businesses, and we just don't take it because we don't know about it. Speaking about policies, there was a bill that we passed this year in the Florida House, or I guess it passed in the state of Florida. Unfortunately, it was SB 1134. We call it the anti-DEI bill. What that bill did was it stops all municipal governments and all local governments from funding anything that the state considers DEI or race-based, which means that programs like MDEET, which are focused on helping black and minority businesses grow, can no longer get funded because or they have to change their message or their mission, right? They have to change it to all small businesses. So I guess my point in that one is we can kind of play by those rules. You know, if we have organizations that give grants or do anything like that, we could still do it. Call it the small business incubator, but target black people. You don't have to call it the black business incubator, you know, so you could still fall within the purview of the law and do it by behavior rather than title. I think that's kind of where we get caught up a lot of times is we want to call it the black this or the minority that because, you know, we take pride in it as people, as we should. But now that that's all gone, just be mindful that we might have to change our mission statements, but we don't have to change our behavior. So that's all I really have. I appreciate it, Marcus. Sorry I got political. I wasn't trying to at all.
Thank you so much. We got a legislative update right there. We're going to wrap with my sister here. Yeah. Yeah, come on. Look out for the cord.
Yeah, my sister Keisha. Come on, Violetta. I got to make sure I see everybody in the room. Let me tell you something, okay? And I got to give a shout out to Miss Pierre, Dr. Pierre. Let me tell you something now. The reality of it is that you cannot be blinded by what's going on, okay? We don't have no more a black community, okay? We're not invited to the table, okay? We don't hold political power when it comes to our government and those seats. So we have to show grace for our community and our friends. When I go to the senior place, okay, they're hungry. They know all the solutions that you need. If you bring that forum over there to one of those spaces where Miss Brenda had at Walden, the Hamlet at Walden Pond, shout out to Wanda Akins for inviting us to this space. They will tell you what is the problem and how we can come up with a solution. Now, they not complaining. They like Shirley Caesar, right? They not complaining. They ain't charging you nothing to come over there to talk to them. So the politicians and what we have to do is tend to our business, the business that serves us to tend to our people. If you know somebody over there needs some food, you need to supply it. And we're not making it a race thing because guess what? That's why the community the way it is. Because we birth babies, we nurse people, we help heal wounds, and we'll listen to you because we've been there and done that. Okay, so Keisha is a testimony. I was proud to see Keisha come up here because she hit it in the chat and she came right here. I see you, brother. Let me tell you, and I see you too. But let me tell you something. So we need to understand one thing. We need access to these things. You talking about what we should do, accountability. You know, you can't tell a mother with children that she ain't splitting that money up and paying. She's doing a lot. She's putting the food on the table if her mind is right and that her body ain't tired. She's also paying that bill. She's parenting kids with minimum to zero resources. And the man, he's going wherever he's going to try to do what he can to protect his manhood or his love interest, whatever he got to do. Okay, that's the dynamics. It's been the dynamics. But what we need today is start being action verbs. And that same gentleman that came up there with that resource, okay, they done stole all our social security numbers and stuff, right? We got to take a chance on something. I heard you about your magazine, okay? You got to take a chance on something. If you get the building, then somebody with some whiz will have to be able to tell us how to make the money. Because these kids need money. Their phones are off. They need shoes. You know how many families we helped undercover that needed school supplies? We didn't call nobody. I said, hey, Tawana, I need this. Violetta, Keisha, I need this. And guess what they did? Everybody came together and paid it. We help people. And it doesn't have a color to it. And that's what we need to stop doing. Because when we go into places, and we've been here all our lives, and guess what? We ain't get no liberations on our own to this point. It was our ancestors. They got beat up in Birmingham. My family from Alabama. They got towed up, okay? So what I can do is do the best I can, okay? And that's what we need to do is do our part at intersection. People done went on to glory, but thank you, Marcus, Dr. Marcus, for doing this. And I want to say that we're not being victims. We're not no victims. You spoke real well, sir, at the, What did he get?
He's a commerce.
No, he had the, you up. Power You.
Oh, yeah.
Ruth Jean Noel. Yeah, Power You. I've been over there to your house. So I'm just telling you, that's what I say. Violetta, you want to say something? She's our international social worker here. You want to say something?
I'm an intern, a student of social work.
We got to make it brief because he done gave us
I
the floor
know.
here.
I'm a mom and grandma here. This is my politician stuff about me and my family.
That's right.
Even though I'm doing right now my master's as a social work, but I've been through with something else with my mom that has a psychiatrist situations. And then I've been as Keisha for 30 years, raising my children. I've been a volunteer too in school from Puerto Rico because I'm a Caribbean. So my English might not be properly in these sections, but still, I know how far it goes to be because this is a program that I already wrote from Monday to Friday to support children
And then we
in
get
the
a ticket out there
community.
helping that family? We got a ticket.
Yes.
And you told me that we should have an alarm, a notice on our car so they don't give us no more tickets. Did you say that?
All right.
Yes, she did. Keisha, want to say something?
Well, I end it like this. She brought up a thing that I thought about, and I forgot to bring it up when I talked about housing. Being in Section 8, when I was in it a long time ago, people used to tell me there's a thing called self-sufficient. All my caseworkers always act like they was dumbfounded, don't know what I'm talking about. So I realized that messaging is whoever they pick and choose. I don't want to put race in it. I try to leave race out of it. But they pick and choose who they give that information to. So I never knew about the information the whole time I was there. When I got out and I came back and I had to fight for it, I found out about self-sufficient. And it's a strategic plan that's supposed to be done for 5 years. The reason why people stay on Section 8, some people 40, 30 years, because they don't got used to the fact that this is what their rent is. And then some of them are not able to be financially literate about things because they are literate people. And you wouldn't even know that I am considered, people don't like to say illiterate, but I have a disability challenge. I'm going back to school now at 53 because schooling was hard. I dropped out of Miami-Dade because I couldn't pass the English course. And I said, forget it. So I just went ahead and did workforce. But what I realized is you are housing 40 people for 40 years, that in that 40 years I did the math, that one recipient that stayed in there for 40 years, you could have bought maybe 40 houses for 40 families. That's just one. And it's over 5,000 people on Section 8. And we know everybody is not going to be able to get off of Section 8 because of, yeah. But
that's going to be terminated.
Yeah, but it's still, but we already know that everybody ain't going to be able to get off of Section 8 because they're disabled and they're elderly. Those are people that we're going to always have to protect. But there are people like me who's trying to do the work and seeing what's going on. We need to do that plan. It's a 5-year strategically plan.
That's right.
Why aren't we working on it? And don't have to be on a list. Have to be on a list to be on it. That's stupid.
Thank you. All right, it's the last word here. I think it's important to hear from people, to give people an opportunity to be heard, though. The last one. Okay. Right here. You two, and then. Thank you.
I promise to be very brief. Hi, everyone. I'm Geneva. I'm senior organizer with PACT. We're an interfaith coalition in Miami-Dade County. And we organize different churches, synagogues, mosques to all come together to fight to solve issues that we're all experiencing in the county. For the past couple years, our membership votes on the issues we take on, and we voted for housing over and over again because it's so unaffordable to stay here, as multiple people have talked about this evening. And what we find in our research and trying to find the solution is that rent control is illegal in the state of Florida. Don't know if you all knew this. But I had my own experience with this in having to move 7 times in the past 8 years because my rent goes up $800 from the month that my lease ends to the next. And so then I have 30 days to find a new apartment that I can actually afford, take on new roommates to try to actually afford to stay here. And I am a young person that is trying to stay here and have my career and life in Miami-Dade for the foreseeable future, although it gets harder and harder. And so we've been working as PAC to try to make affordable housing and workforce housing actually affordable here. But again, we're limited on what we can do because that rent control is illegal at the state. So I just wanted to lift up again what James mentioned before. We're working for a ballot initiative to try to make rent control legal and actually a thing here in Florida to protect people, to stop the displacement of our communities to Orlando or Tampa or Atlanta, people leaving the state. And so I just want to encourage folks, ballot initiatives since 2018, the state has been trying to get rid of citizen-led ballot initiatives, have been passing legislation to make it harder and trying to criminalize people trying to do ballot initiatives. So that means that we need everyone in this room to volunteer if we actually want to get this thing passed. So James mentioned we have a survey. Please come and talk to one of us at this table. To get that survey to fill out if you're interested in being a part of that work with us, because it's going to take all of us if we want to see this changed. Thank you. Here you go, sir.
Okay, good evening. NAACP, right? NAACP? Right, y'all is. Okay. I just want to say that I'm going into foreclosure the 31st of this month. I'll be in foreclosure. So I just wanted to say that my address is 2106 Northwest 70th Street, Miami, Florida, 33147. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gregory Black, and I'm from Power U. I've been a member for a year and a half. I'm in a team called Neighborhood Scout. We had a assembly up here in Alllikeminds, and what we're doing is that we're trying to get 200 or more people at our assembly at 3 different areas. Alllikeminds, we have one in West Little River at the Senior Citizen. It's going to be there in October the 10th, and we're going to be doing another one in North Miami Beach. What we're trying to do is get Center for People Power. We're trying to win our demands for, like you said, we're fighting this economical justice system with our hands behind our backs, and we need to come on out and fight because some of us are hiding, and we're also trying to bring in all the local communities. We know we don't have a black community no more, especially in West Little River, so we're going to bring everybody together, engage with each other so we could bring a community and work with each other.